In Monday's episode we discussed Kate Raworth's Doughnut model as a sustainable alternative to our current economy. In this episode of Some More Talk we're going to dive a little deeper into this model. Let's get started. So, last Monday we discussed the possible collapse of the global economy sometime in the 21st century. To prevent this collapse we need to make substantial changes to our current economic systems to make them sustainable and able to operate within the limits of our planet. One such alternative is the Doughnut model, a framework created by economist Kate Raworth and explained in a book subtitled 7 Ways to Think Like a 21st Century Economist. First, we'll have a quick refresher of the Doughnut model. Then we'll quickly cover the 7 ways to think like a 21st century economist as elaborated on in Raworth's book. The Doughnut model is a framework for a sustainable economy that aims to balance the needs of people and the planet. It is based on the idea that there is a safe and just space for humanity within the limits of the Earth's resources. The model is represented by this donut-shaped diagram, with the outer ring representing the ecological ceiling and the inner ring representing the social foundation. The area between the two rings, the donut hole, represents the safe and just space for humanity. One of the key features of the Doughnut model is that it takes a holistic approach to sustainability by considering both social and ecological factors. The social foundation represents the basic needs that must be met for all individuals, such as food, housing and healthcare. The ecological ceiling represents the limits of the planet's resources and the need to stay within planetary boundaries in order to avoid catastrophic climate change and other environmental degradation. By providing a comprehensive framework for sustainable development, the Doughnut model offers a vision for a more equitable and resilient future. Now, let's get into the 7 ways we can think like a 21st century economist. The first way described by Raworth is to change the goal from economic growth to meeting the needs of people and the planet. This means shifting our focus from GDP to a more holistic measure of societal and environmental well-being. GDP, gross domestic product, is a measure of economic growth and development which calculates the value of all goods and services produced within a country's borders in a given period of time. GDP is a limited and misleading measure of well-being. It does not take into account the distribution of wealth, social and economic degradation and other externalities which are caused by economic growth. The Doughnut model proposes a more comprehensive measure of societal and environmental well-being. By doing this, we can ensure that economic growth is not pursued at the expense of social or environmental sustainability. The second way is the need to see the economy as an embedded system rather than being self-contained. This means recognizing that the economy is not separate from society and the environment, but deeply interconnected with them. The potential for economic participation is limited by the resources people have. This is not only influenced by wealth and income, but also by societal factors, which are especially important to marginalized communities. By seeing the big picture, we can understand how economic activity affects the well-being of people and the planet, and design policies that promote both social and ecological goals. Third, the Doughnut model recognizes that human behavior is not solely driven by rational economic choices, but also influenced by social and cultural factors. To achieve a sustainable and just economy, we need to nurture human nature, promoting cooperation and civic engagement. This can be done by designing policies and institutions that encourage people to act in the public good and by fostering a culture of stewardship and responsibility. The Doughnut model also emphasizes the need to understand the complexity and dynamic nature of economic systems. This is the fourth way to think like a 21st century economist. This means moving away from a mechanistic view of the economy, where everything is in equilibrium, to a more systemic and dynamic understanding. We need to design policies that take into account the interconnectedness and feedback loops of the economy and anticipate potential unintended consequences. The fifth way emphasizes the need that the economy should be designed to distribute the benefits of growth and development equitably. This means moving away from the miserably failed concept of trickle-down and the assumption that growth will eventually even things out, and instead ensure that the benefits of growth are distributed fairly. This can be achieved by implementing progressive taxation, universal access to basic needs, and fair wages. Sixth, we need to create an economy that regenerates rather than depletes the Earth's resources. This means designing policies and institutions that promote sustainable resource use, regenerative agriculture and circular economy. By creating an economy that regenerates, we can ensure that future generations will have access to the resources they need to thrive. Seventh and finally, the Doughnut model advocates for being growth agnostic rather than growth addicted. This means recognizing that economic growth is not an end in itself, but a means to an end. As we have discussed in Monday's episode, the need for perpetual growth is an explicit part of capitalist economies. Corporations are driven to increase profits for shareholders, which is a perverse incentive that leads to worse situations for workers, the environment, and society in general. Within capitalism, the pursuit of profit is the primary motivator, and all other concerns are secondary. Instead, the goal should be to meet the needs of people and the planet rather than pursuing growth for its own sake. By being agnostic about growth, we can design policies that promote sustainable development rather than chasing an elusive and harmful goal. The current economic system is unsustainable. As we have seen in Monday's episode, business as usual leads to overshoot and collapse sooner rather than later. The Doughnut model represents a framework for a more sustainable and equitable economic system. The model addresses the need for a comprehensive approach to sustainability, which takes into account both social and ecological factors. It also emphasizes the need for systemic change, including redesigning economic systems to be distributive and regenerative, and nurturing human nature to promote cooperation and civic engagement. The Doughnut model provides a framework that can help us make informed decisions to have a better understanding of the economy and its relationship with society and the environment. It is a model that needs to be widely adopted by all sectors of society, as it is a way of achieving a sustainable and fair economy that can ensure the well-being of all the individuals and the preservation of the planet. If you're interested in the Doughnut model, I highly recommend reading the book. Also, there are sources in the description you can check out as usual. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. If so, don't forget to give it a like. On this channel we discuss what we can do better to make the world a better place to live in. If that sounds good to you, subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Till next week!